This is the Tapped In Podcast, the podcast for beverage distributors that want to empower their sales team to drive business results. Listen up and welcome back to another episode of the Tapped In Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Bud, here with Moneyball Ross and Magic Mike, Data Mike, that might be the one. Data Mike, with Tapped In Sales Podcast, your podcast for beer distributors by beer distributors. We're gonna have a little bit different take today. We're gonna do a little news cycle today around what's going on in the industry. We've had a lot of news going on. We've had some good guests. But before we go there, I have a fun story from the weekend to piggyback off of the last episode, Matt Stanky's episode. So you guys remember in the middle of the episode, Matt was like, on-premise accounts, they need to have more than one non-alcoholic beer, right? What do you call it, Mike? He called it a guiltless pleasure menu. I think he did.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I love that tagline too. Great tagline. And Sarah, we go to dinner on Saturday night. And she sits down, looks at the beer menu, wants to have an NA beer. And she's like, server comes over. She's like, is that the only NA beer you have? It was one of the Kolsch, or was one of the, what's the Colorado one? The Coors one.
I'm not even familiar with that one.
I should know that. One of the Coors Banquet has one.
Native?
Something like that. But it was just one. And she was just like, do you got Bud Zero? Nope. Ultra Zero? Nope. She looks at me. He's like, ask him for a Go Brewing. Nope. Like, no, I'm fine. I'll just have water. Matt's advice playing out in real time.
Absolutely. Yep.
So you got.
While you guys are doing that, hold on. Let me go grab something. I got to show you something. So
we got present time.
Uh-oh.
He actually had to leave.
I saw him walk out the room there.
What did he have to leave to go do, Mikey?
I don't know, but that counter behind him is all clean. That never used to be that clean.
It's incredibly clean. That is
it's incredibly clean.
Look how clean that thing is.
The mirror is like, I think, is that rewritten? Did he clean that up, or is that the same?
I'm coming back, don't worry.
The 3X cycle is the same. What does Ross have?
Speaking of last week's episode, I went to the store and got it. You can't read it backwards, but they're Negronis.
They're Negronis?
Yes.
Oh, this is the non-alcoholic Negroni you said you had.
Yeah, phony Negroni.
Phony Negroni.
It's really good.
I thought that was just a tagline that you gave it. I didn't know it was a brand.
No, it's fantastic. And I'm finding it more and more places here in Bend, Oregon. Is Negroni the drink that Anthony Bourdain loved? Oh, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a Bourdain kind of thing.
That might be a deep pull. So might be deep.
Yeah, that bottle will grab your attention right away.
I don't want to go down those conspiracy rabbit holes. You never know.
No kidding. That is true. So I love it. Well, we've got a series of news things that we want to get through today. So we're going to click through these and see how many of these we get through. But one of the first things that we were going to talk about is that, hey, the man, the myth, the legend himself, the OG, Warren Buffett, goes in and doubles down on Constellation. So to me, I find this fascinating. I'll kind of kick off the questions around what the hell does the Oracle from Omaha see that the rest of the industry doesn't? And why is he taking his hard-earned, $300 billion in T-bills that he's got, Ross, and investing away in Constellation and in beverage alcohol, when everybody in their universe is calling Chicken Little, saying that Bev Alc is dead, nobody's ever going to drink it ever again, and there's zero safe level of alcohol?
Well, I'll let you guys start with your positive spin on this before I rain on your parade. So go ahead.
You're gonna come in negative.
Oh, no, you know me.
Yeah, I guess
I don't bring the positive. I bring the shit. So you guys go ahead. Talk about how great Warren Buffett is and how this is so great. Go for it.
I'm not gonna play it up. I mean, I'm only going to talk about, I guess, kind of what I know and what I've seen. And I don't know if it's positive or negative, but it's little my brain looking at it from the outsider. But I mean, he's been known to really not chase the hype, right? And the trends. He's known to be like a long-term value player investor, right? He invested in Anheuser-Busch pretty heavily 2005. We all know what happened in 2008. He's pretty big in that whole decision and backing that too. And he made out pretty good. So is that an indicator or maybe something to come? Who knows? Probably not. But overall, I mean, looking at Constellation and overall, it's not just about the trends. It's not about the hype. You know, it's losing momentum. The growth that it had over the last few years is just unsustainable. So it's slowing down. It's still growing, but it's slowing down those trends. But the long-term investment, right? All very profitable brands, all have great margin. They all hit a growing population in our country, and it's a long-term play, honestly. And what the CC that Wall Street doesn't is that long-term play. When Wall Street's just looking at the trends, what's hype now, where's it going, he's looking long-term. It's not about the sprint for him, it's the marathon, in my opinion.
I think they've got a third act up their sleeve in Pacifico. Or is it Pacific? No, is it Pacifico or Presidente, Mikey? Which one is it?
Pacifico.
It's Pacifico. They got a third act up their sleeve in Pacifico for sure. And
they've got something hot with that brand right now too.
Do.
I mean, and just in my opinion, you know, with the Mexican brands being on fire the way that they are, and I love labels, right? I think labels, packaging really sells beer. It really does. It grabs your attention. It comes back to branding, how that brand makes you feel. And when you think about Pacifico and that yellow label, that yellow can, it's hot, and it's hot right now. You see it flying off the shelves where it is right now. It's hard to find. I feel like it's really under distributed in most places. But where it is, it's doing great, and it's riding on those coattails. And you're right. It could be that third act that's coming in.
Ross?
Well, let me pull up something real quick here.
Are you bringing in the rainstorm?
I'm bringing the rainstorm. So before we think that the Oracle is as smart as everybody says he is, I want to give you some context here. So for those of you that's listening, I just pulled up a chart of the performance of a cold, dead rock, gold, versus Berkshire Hathaway since 1999. You will see that this cold, dingy, do-nothing rock outperformed Berkshire Hathaway. So the graph shows that since 1999 through this period, which is the one the graph I have is through 2000, that gold is up 429%, whereas Berkshire Hathaway is up 385%. So had you just bought a piece of rock, you would have outperformed the Oracle of Omaha. Now, before you get after me and say this doesn't go through current times, cool. Well, gold's on a run now and is up 78% over the same period. So Berkshire Hathaway's caught up a little bit in the last couple of years, but still, it's pretty embarrassing that just buying a rock would outperform a stock picker.
Are you advising all distributors to sell their Constellation brand portfolio and buy into gold?
I mean, apparently that's what you should do. We should be selling gold instead of instead of Mexican beer.
I love it. I love it, Ross.
And I'm going to make it even worse. So I go back to what I said a couple episodes ago. M2 money supply up roughly 4.6 times. So Berkshire Hathaway didn't even beat inflation.
How much of that was the 2023 AB debacle, though, too, that took that down?
I mean, he's a stock picker, right? So he's got multiple stocks. I mean, I think that'd be interesting to look at and see what's performance and what's not. I mean, this is the same person that was late to the game at Apple, said he didn't understand the value proposition early on, and then later became a big investor. He also said Bitcoin was rats poison squared. So that's turned out real well for him too.
That was the Bitcoin one. I was waiting for the Bitcoin comment to come.
Waiting for the Bitcoin one. So listen, I mean, I think value investing made sense in the 90s. I think it makes less sense now. I think you always, the fundamental unit of account in dollars, it's the denominator of all investments has changed. I think it's a lot hype cycle driven. I think it's hard to value anything the way he does. I think he was very smart, and he wrote the book on value investing, which I think was a very smart play in the 80s and 90s. But again, this is just a podcast about Constellation and beer, so I'll let you guys bring it back. I mean, it's hard with. I think that's where the growth is. I mean, I think he's just putting money where it's safe, and you'll see him doing that with bonds. So I don't read too much into it. I think he's going where it's safe, and I think consumer goods. I think people are always going to drink beer, even if it goes down 5%. It's not going to go down 20% like what the Nasdaq can do overnight. So, he's looking for safe places and to put money, and I think he's able to keep up with inflation, which is more than I can say for a lot of stocks.
That was my read too,
yeah.
Ross. That was my read too, Ross. That you got to go out on various risk curves when you're putting together a portfolio like his, and this is on a less risky risk curve that's very safe and more predictable and reliable, but probably going to make a little bit more than the T-bill as well. And if you're going to put something to work in a consumer good package world where there is a churn of money and there is cash flow and there is profitability, picking a beverage stock and a beverage alcohol stock, this is probably one of the better ones in today's block right now for sure. But
I mean, we're not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. But I think if you're in the same kind of basket as you're approaching towards retirement, and it's a proxy or an alternative to just buying the S&P or an index, right? Because I mean, if you're doing 5-6%, you're roughly in line with the S&P. You may be more comfortable with Berkshire Hathaway and its portfolio in terms of risk, especially as we move into downturn periods. I think he tends to do better. So anyway, yeah.
It's good. It's a good topic to keep at top of mind and fun to kind of think about and hypothesize. It'll be fun to see where he plays out with it long term, because we also see when he's going to trim it back. They'll trim it back at some point, and that usually speaks pretty loudly too. Not only the additive, but also the trim back too. So next discussion is around industry check-in. Tough, sad Q1. All the analysts, this is, reported on heavily now from all the trade press, BBD and Beer Marketers Insights. All of the quarterly calls are done for all the major publicly traded, beverage alcohol companies. Analysts had their say. They say we may have bottomed out. Q1 sucked, but let's look to the future. That's what they get paid to do too, is look to the future. What retail foot traffic, scan data, customer sentiment was at all-time low. Stock market was at a low, was tumbling down in Q1, so that drove sentiment down even more. Now it's back. It's like vaporized its return. It's vaporized all of its and erased all of its downs, and it's back to its almost year-to-date flat to above at recording of this. Distributors are still down year over year, but feels less bad. You've got AB and a Constellation both stabilizing, Ultra, Busch Light on a tear. How do we take the reset and move from a down quarter that was just awful from brace to impact to build and rebound for the summertime? And we're rolling into, when this publishes, will be the day after Memorial Day, the hot start of the summer season.
Yeah, it's a tough mindset to switch, right? We've been getting beat up. It doesn't matter what portfolio you're selling. You've just been really getting beat up this first quarter, and it's tough. But I mean, any kind of advice right now would just be take the small wins, to use them as remotivation, right? To go after bigger wins, remotivate yourself, help reset the fatigue. But it's going to be one small win at a time, and it's getting back in there. It's showing your positive attitude with the retailer that, we might not be out of the hole, but at least we've stopped digging right now, right? And now we've got to stop bracing for impacts. We ain't dead yet. Yeah. Stop bracing for impact, and it's time to build the rebound. So, and in order to do that, we have to really switch our mindset over and retake that positive outlook on. And it's summer, and no matter where you live in this country, summertime equals beer season, right? It doesn't matter if you live in a climate that the weather just really doesn't change. Summertime still means beer drinking season. So we have to get that back in our heads, get back out there, and don't get caught by surprise with inventory, right? I mean, we've seen this industry shift and sales shift on a dime and go from we're not selling anything to, oh my God, I can't keep it on the shelf. So don't let that hit you. Don't miss those opportunities.
Ross, anything to add on your end?
I mean, I'm going to say something positive, which is a change. I'm going to say AB is actually executing well. I think you had a note later on, but I did see the articles come across about how they are increasing share. It was a negative in that it was a negative and a positive. It's overall market down, AB share up. And I think that's indicative in some of the actions that AB is taking. So I think I think we can be positive about certain brands and what they're doing in the overall mix. And it's about doubling down on what's been successful and taking more share of what's left. Yeah, the pie is shrinking, take more share of it. Easier said than done. But I think on the last podcast, we talked a lot about NA. So I think it's about expansion of the portfolio outside of the traditional channels, whether it's the phony Negroni or whether it's NA beer, Delta 9. I mean, there's opportunities into these other categories and space to take from somebody else's pie, so to speak.
Great point.
You don't have to rely exclusively on one or two or your main or your biggest or your smallest. Like we as wholesalers have a mix of portfolio opportunities, and we still hang our hat a lot on our happiness or sentiment around what our largest partners are doing. And yes, that's very important to us. Don't get me wrong. But also our full portfolio and selling the full portfolio is very important to us as well. So,
and that's why leadership really has diversified the portfolio so much over the years to really offset some of those swings, right? So our account should be diversified as well. So we're not 100% relying on just the alcohol section or the NA section.
Did you guys see, moving to the next topic, which is Busch Light Apple? Did you guys see the Busch Light Apple commercial that they put together?
I did not. I didn't even know they had one.
Okay, so let's watch this. Here, let me make sure I get this shared right. Share the actual audio. Yes. Window.
I haven't been watching much TV. What network was it on?
I don't know. I'll watch all my stuff on YouTube. Boom.
My name is Ronald G. Wayne, one of the original co-founders of a massive tech company. Nearly 50 years ago, I gave up my share of that company and received $800. That share today would be worth billions. But hey, you live, you learn, and today I'm here to tell you about a different kind of apple, one you don't want to miss out on. It's back, and this time I'm not missing out on a great apple-related opportunity. This is a real good investment. I'm stocking up, and you should too.
Well, there you go. Screw Berkshire Hathaway. That is financial advice, man.
By Busch Light Apple.
From what I'm hearing, though, what I'm hearing, all of our distributor partners, it didn't need any kind of advertisement. It didn't need any kind of help, and it pretty much blew out within a week everywhere, which is crazy. I mean, it was such a highly anticipated return. People were just screaming for it for so long. They really weren't into the peach. They wanted the apple back. So, and it was a big hit, and everybody blew through it so quickly. It's funny when you think about any kind of flavor innovations of a brand and how to do it right. And I feel like with Apple, it's hard to tell if they did it right. Yeah, they've created a buzz to where they can blow through so much product so quickly, increase share, right, and rebound some volume loss within a week. But did they leave some on the table by waiting so long, by only having one every couple of years? Or do you think that they're doing it just right by having that spacing in there and creating that demand to where they're just blowing it out?
I mean, I think AB nailed it. I mean, I think they did a really good job. And it's accretive, and it's not for, I mean, everybody's margins are different, but for the majority of the wholesalers that we interact with, it was accretive or positive to the profitability, which my biggest issue I've always had with Busch is the margins. but not with this product. You've got a hot product with good margins, and I think they nailed it where it was just enough, where they blew it out, got good numbers out of it, and left the consumer hungry for more. So we'll see what they do next. But I mean, it's rare that we get to see AB make a smart move, and this is a smart move.
For sure. A gain, biggest share gainers in 4 weeks, bump in years, and almost captured a whole share point in scan data out of this as well, as reported on by BBD and Beer Marketers Insights. So, like, big numbies. Lime coming up next, I believe, too.
Lime is coming up next, yeah, and some mixed reviews, out in the field about that, from consumers, from reps.
Well, everybody loves Bud Light Lime. Isn't it just Bud Light Lime, right?
Well, is it Bud Light Lime or is it Ultra Lime? I've always Busch Light lines up with the flavor profile of Ultra a little bit more than Bud Light, in my opinion.
It's corn-fed lime, Mikey.
No, but I was so wrong. Remember when they first announced Busch Light Apple was coming out? I don't know if you remember my reaction, but I was like, "Oh hell no!"
Yes.
Oh hell no, man! This is a big fat zero for us on the order form, and you guys didn't agree with me at first, but then I was like, "All right, look at our Busch Light app or Busch Light consumer. And at that time, the only comparison was Red's Apple Ale. Look at the Red's Apple Ale consumer, and tell me any kind of crossover there. Show me where anybody is in a crossover into those two brands." I was like, absolutely not. It's not going to happen. And I think at first we tried to get away with ordering 0, and then we got pressured into ordering a couple pallets.
Well, that's all strategy and negotiation. You order 0 to get pressured into the amount you want to get.
And then I mean, that was a big slap in the face for me. Like, holy crap. I don't know who's drinking this now, but at first I'm like, what happened? So lime could totally surprise me, but I'm on the negative side of that fence with the lime. I don't think lime is as strong of a flavor as the apple. I don't see it doing nearly as well. Probably more in line with peach on the first
I can see the tagline now. It puts the lime in the bush and it drinks it right.
I'm gonna take the over under on that, Mike. I think it's gonna do well. I think
you think so?
I think it's gonna line up better with the Hispanic beer consumer.
You think
people that are drinking the Coronas with the limes? I think they're also Busch consumers. I think AB's lining up to do well here. So I think we need to set up a poly market and put some money on this.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Because and what's also on my side here, Ross, is I think distributors are gonna be a little hesitant to order on this. I think that they're still, it's very, very recent, engraved in their mind. Busch Light Peach. We just got done pushing that out, fire sale and that. Then we might still be able to find some 30 packs sitting around of that. And then the success of Apple. So it's right between that, but the last round of peach isn't too far away from our memory too when we go into this ordering this low. And that's the other thing too, is it's all low and we order it way ahead of time. We have no idea.
I can hear the ghost of brewery executives past, Mikey.
Yeah,
but I gotta find my wallet.
Busch Light Apple did so well. You need to order more.
No, I'm gonna take
based on the Busch Light Apple numbers. This is what we think your lime numbers should be.
It doesn't matter, Mikey. You need
to. Here's my prediction of exactly what's going to play out. You ready for this? I'll get some cash. I'm gonna put it on the table here. We're taking a real bet, Mike.
Finally, a bet.
All right, so $20. You in for 20?
I'm in for
Vegas. 20. Vegas is where we settle this shit.
You ready? You're in for 20?
All or nothing on black.
All right. So here's the bet. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think that the initial shipments are going to come in. I think the purchasing is going to be a little bit light because they are going to be thinking about peach. They're going to blow it all out in the first 2 weeks. The demand's going to be strong. Signals are going to be high. AB is going to freak out because they didn't produce enough. They're going to scramble. Everybody's going to run out. Everybody's going to be screaming for it. AB is then going to turn around, rework the production schedule, produce the living shit out of it. And all of a sudden we're going to have too much and we're going to be stuck with it in the fall. And we're not going to even get the peach because we'll be stuck with lime out the kazoo.
Did this just happen with peach? You didn't come up with that. You just reset what happened with
sales
peach.
Are going to be, my point is the sales are going to be very strong out the gate.
Yeah.
And the consumer is going to love it. And what they're going to do is they're going to make the mistake of reacting into it instead of saying, okay, we're just going to let it run out and leave the demand on the table. They're going to produce like crazy and they're going to overproduce it. And then it's going to destroy it because it's going to be at the back end of it. Apple was perfect.
I think right now there's only there's only one window. There's only one loaf for it. So it might be a one-time shot like they did with Apple, because right now there was only that one low for Apple.
Can always be another low. You know what breweries make? They make more beer.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be hard to reduce or hard to ignore the economic incentive, especially during the middle of summer selling season.
Yes.
And because we're probably not the only ones saying that AB nailed it with the Apple. So, and keep in mind, people are bonused on financial results, not on hype. So, so do we have a bet here? What's the bet is? It's going to be successful in terms of sales. But I guess we could both be right that if it languishes and they produce another round of it. So what's the bet?
What do we compare it to? I mean, we don't even have a hard number on peach sales as a baseline.
I think the bet is, I think the reasonable bet, Ross, is do they do a second round? Do they rush to another low?
Of lime?
Mikey?
Well, I think the only rush to a second round, if I'm right on the first, which is that it comes in hard and comes in strong and the consumer responds.
And what's working in your favor there is we're coming into the end of the year.
Are you already admitting? Are you already admitting defeat? You're walking away from this.
No, but I'm just saying that's not really fair, because what do breweries love to do at the end of the year? Fill our warehouse with something, right? I mean, we got to look good on the books, so why not throw in another low of, hey, that first round was really good. Maybe you should double down round 2.
So it sounds like you agree with me, and we have no bet here.
No, I'll go with you. Yeah, I'll go on that. I'll take your bet. I think.
All right, but you're gonna have to be the arbitrator of who's right here.
So the bet is we have to simplify the bet a little bit. So the bet is that do they do another low? Do they rush to another low? And if they do, Ross wins, and if they don't, Mike wins.
Yes,
well,
$20.
I feel like I'm right then too, because if they blow it out, then sales were strong.
No,
Mikey's sitting here saying it's going to be like peach and nobody's going to want it.
They could actually learn their lesson and say, you know what? This is good to have pent up demand. We do not have to satisfy every.
But that's not the bet. He said it was not going to be a successful product.
Ross, look at history though. You're saying if it's successful, they won't have another low. Apple was the most successful flavor innovation I think they've ever had. The very first year they had like 2 lows. Then it went away for how many years? And then how many lows of peach, which was very soft, did they do? 3 years worth of lows on peach. They just returned with Apple. So history says that if it's successful, they're not going to have another low because they depleted their inventory. So I think it's a good bet.
Now, another fun bet would be we could put.
I just don't like where we've gotten to. You start out with saying this isn't going to fly. To well, maybe it's definitely going to fly. It's going to fly. It's definitely not going to fly. It's definitely going to fly. They're going to sell out and just not reproduce it.
Well, then the bet should be, if you don't think it's going to do as well as Apple did, then the bet should be, I don't think it does well in this first low, and that people are struggling to get rid of it late in the year, and that Ross's bet is that it does incredible. It's off of the first one.
All right.
Are we in?
Let's say, but we got to put a time on it. What they sell through? Everybody sells through in 3 months.
August. By the time
we're exchanging cash at MBWA in Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah. And live on the air.
And the settlement is that basically products gone by August. If we're doing back to school shopping and Busch Light Lime still in the market, we got a problem.
I seriously think we should polymarket this and let people join.
The Americans can't join it. They can't bet polymarket. I don't think.
I can't wait to buy my Busch Light 30 pack in September 1st. Or Busch Light Lime 30 pack September 1st.
You'd just be helping me out.
Now, another good bet though is that lime. So they did apple and they did lime. What would you do as a solid fall flavor? That is a true fall flavor, not apple.
Apple.
But we already did apple though.
It's proven to be successful.
I think you could do pumpkin bush.
Pumpkin bush.
I go back to the OG. Go back to pumpkin.
I think you could do a pumpkin bush.
Jack's pumpkin ale.
You know how many people have never tried a pumpkin beer?
Just mix it with Jack's pumpkin ale and Busch Light, half and half.
Well, we sold that. We sold that recipe off to Tilray, and they don't have just a little pumpkin chunking in your bush.
That doesn't even.
They got Night Owl.
Why not? Why not?
Just water down. Just water. Yeah, just modify the night owl and call it Busch.
For sure.
Yeah, that's 8.5 ABV.
Thin it
I
out.
like that.
Throw some water in there. Thin it out.
There you go.
Let's pivot to, let's skip one of these news articles. So we kind of talked about this a little bit. I think it's lame. And let's go to, I'm judge and jury on this today. Let's go to the next one. We have fun fact around another good packaging innovation. As Mikey says, hey, packaging sells beer. People get excited about this. Miller Lite turns 50 this year. And they are going to be doing, so new ad campaign where they're talking about Miller Lite turning 50. They're bringing in the gold can, for what gold watch, 50 years of service, whatever. That's the retirement age or whatever. And there's some kind of, people can fact check me on that after this. But kind of fun, right?
Yeah, that's fun. It grabs your attention.
Grabs the attention. Good for beer to have something that is celebratory like this as far as a category as a whole, talking about the category too, because this will get a ton of trade press as well, right?
Yeah.
And not just trade press, just general press.
Good for the category. Good for Miller Lite. It's going to get some incremental grabs, I would think, just with the packaging catching your eye like that. And yeah, and happy 50th birthday.
Happy. I wish they would have done the gold, like a Willy Wonka's golden ticket kind of a thing.
Where you get to go to the brewery and drink as much beer as you can.
It'd have to be something more than that. Beer. Like a lifetime supply of beer. Something like way above and beyond of just the, going to see the Oompa Loompas at the beer factory.
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe even centered like around a sporting event or something like that. Lifetime tickets to something sponsored by Miller Lite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So I always say that Bud should have been in marketing at the brewery.
Bud for president.
Bud for president.
Bud for president.
When this moderator gig doesn't work out for you, you can always become marketing.
That's right. And then now, I didn't think I would do this. I don't know if we'd ever show this, but we've got another. This is kind of twofer. We can talk about this in two different stories for the same bang for your buck. So we got Hulk Hogan trying to save Hooters. Hooters files for bankruptcy, and Hulk Hogan wants to come in. He wants to take over Hooters IP for real American beer. It's the Florida man meets CPG strategy. And, brands are becoming lifestyle brands. But do you think that this 71-year-old wrestler is going to mix with these bikini girls really well? Is going to get in the mix? This guy could have. I don't know if current day Hulk Hogan
I don't
does.
know. Look at what Bill Belichick's doing, man. Right? It's on brand.
It's on brand. Yes.
Yeah. And speaking of brand, I think it's a great move. Like, we talk about this a lot. You've heard me on my high horse about lifestyle branding, right? It sells products. You're not buying a brand. You're buying a vibe. You're buying a representation of how you feel, how you want to feel, and how you want people to perceive you, and where you kind of want to be, right? So I think it's a great move. Talk about lifestyle branding. It's a big move, right? Probably some pretty high margin, I would imagine, too, going along in that. But I don't know. I think if it works out, I think it'll be good for the brand, because I don't know if I haven't really tracked much. I don't know how much traction it's really picking up so far. I know with having the Hulkster behind it, there's getting some good press and you see a lot of good advertising on it, but I'm not sure how many people are actually purchasing the product right now. I haven't seen enough data on that.
Ross, what do you think, my man?
The quote that originally came to my mind was, "Nobody ever got poor overestimating the American consumer." I think it was Bernard Arnault or something that said something like that along those lines. But that's the thought that came to mind, which is I wouldn't bet against it. I'm not going to be lining up to buy it, but I'm not the American consumer. So,
to me, we need to keep a good family establishment like Hooters running. To have that lose would be like have that run its course would be like a loss of an icon. Even Sarah loves the wings there, right? Like it'd be and seriously, wings. It's the Mardi Gras wings. They come out once a year. Sarah loves them. We have one in Kalamazoo. We've seen them in other places as well, where we've gone to go check this nice family establishment out. So I wouldn't put anything past the Hulk either.
Well, I think if you want to get serious about it, there's two things here. There's two like serious underlying things here. One is as a beer sales team, it's not about what you want to drink. And that could be this, and that could be something else, right? You should need to follow the trends and follow what the consumer wants. So I think there's a lesson in that, and the other piece of it is consumer loyalty is shifted such that people are not loyal specifically to one brand like it was 20, 30 years ago. And it's more in line with the wine industry where people will buy things based on the label. They'll sample it once and drink it once. And I think things like this allow the beer industry to shift more towards that impulse, label-driven, marketing-driven purchase, not necessarily based on the liquid in the can or the liquid in the bottle in the case of wine. So in all seriousness, there are two key underlying things to take away from this, both in terms of not getting hung up on what it is you like, but rather what your consumer is looking to purchase. And then two, understanding that brand loyalty has shifted and the way consumers are purchasing has changed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It kind of goes back to, as reps, we all get really frustrated with the on-premise decision maker, typically the owner, that refuses to try a brand because they don't like it. I don't like that beer. Oh, I don't really like that style. Well, and as reps, we get frustrated because we're like, you're not the only one drinking in your establishment, but this is a very hot growing style. And this is working in other places. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean you can't have it on tap. That same philosophy down to the rep level now of you have to adapt to everybody's needs, the consumer's needs too.
You talking about adapting, Ross, brings up something that I watched a few weeks ago. I watched the Chili CEO break down the challenges and the changes that they made. He did a 60 Minutes interview, and just having him go through what they've changed and then thinking about this Hooters downfall. It's incredible to listen to somebody who has completely transformed their restaurant business to the powerhouse it is organically growing their business through simplification on an on-premise retailer. And for any rep, team leader, operation of a distributor, like, go check out what this guy is talking about and what this guy did. Because the simplification that he did for his restaurant is something that we can talk about with our retailers around, hey, how do we simplify and curate the experience? Because it's not just a little bit about what Matt talked about yesterday. There's a lot of complexity out there in the on-premise space that doesn't need to be. He said something like, there were 25 different, or there were 3 or 4 different ways that they made wings where they trimmed it back to one. One of the funniest one was, so the way they had to season their fries, you had to shake the salt shaker 30 times. What knucklehead in the kitchen is going to shake the salt shaker 30 times? So what did they do? They made the holes bigger. Like stuff like that. That's like as simple. And it's fun to hear somebody talk about all the dumb stuff their business used to do, and now all the smart little mini tweaks that their business is doing now to grow and to be successful. And innovators are going to win, and Hooters fell behind. That's why the brand is challenged. I think the culture of what Hooters has to offer as a product is right on the wavelength of where the American consumer is moving towards in terms of more fun, less wokeism, more hangout. Like the vibe of that family restaurant that they have is right on the right brand of what the Trumpism is in America. And like, you could have a bring upswing for whoever operates that brand next, as long as they can clean up, simplify, and take on some of the stuff that the Chili CEO has done to make it work. And if that's the Hulkster, more power to him, right?
Right on, brother.
Right on, brother. Oh, well, I think that ends everything I had planned to talk about today, boys, from a news cycle and kind of a fun change of pace episode. Anything else you guys wanted to add on our topics?
Well, not necessarily on the topics, but something that came up on a call this week that I think is important. Somebody asked us, when looking at incentives and objectives, what do you recommend in terms of driving maximum success? And I know I'm looping back to a couple podcasts ago, but I thought it was a very good question. And the answer that we gave was go back to first principles and what you're trying to achieve. And sometimes simpler is better. And a lot of times actually simpler is better. But I think it was an interesting question, which is, what drives success in terms of the structure? And I think it goes back to what are you trying to achieve? It was just something I heard this week that was really stuck with me.
We haven't ever done an episode on that specific topic. That's something we could dig into at a more long form episode. Sounds like a good one maybe to do in the next few episodes.
I think that's a good idea.
That'd be a great topic.
Love it. Well, we'll tease that idea out. If you're listening to this and you're enjoying it, please like, subscribe, share with a friend. You can find us at VXP, or you can hit us up with any kind of questions or listener questions you have with info@vxptech.com. That's info@vxptech.com. We're going to continue to do this. We are having a ton of fun doing it. We appreciate all the listeners out there. Last week, big props to Matt. Matt said, he texted me this week and he said, "Oh shoot, I said we won we won a World Beer Cup. We didn't win, we won a medal." And I'm like, well, right on brand, right? Like, I'm not even editing that, bro. It's already out. I'm not editing.
I thought he said they medaled. I don't remember him saying they won. I thought he said they medaled.
I think he was the way he kind of said it. I'm like, yeah, I didn't. It's fine. Leave it alone. But right on brand. So
yeah.
Well, good stuff, boys. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for listening, and cheers until next week.
Cheers.